Okay, the recording is started, and this is the December 18th, 2018 Rook community meeting. And we'll start off by talking about 0.9 patch releases. So we've got a few items listed in the 0.9 milestone, and a few items, I believe that they are overlapping sets of each other. Maybe not this item.
Last one looks like it's missing.
Yeah, but the manage modules and the deploy with home chart. Oh, that's done.
Is it still open?
No, it says closed. It says it's done.
It's in the done column, but is it closed? Because it shouldn't show up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I need to close that.
Beat you.
Oh, fun.
Ha. Yeah, I thought that when things were in the done column, they were automatically closed. That's interesting.
I think if you close it, it automatically moves it to done, but I don't think the inverse is true.
If you move it to done, it does not close it.
Right.
I see. Okay, so the board covers everything that's in the milestone. All right, so I think and then this documentation update, that got merged or backported to 0.9. That's done. Travis, this one, 2353, that got backported too, didn't it?
That did get backported. I guess I wanted to bring it up to track things that we need a build for, like that's in the release branch, but we need the 0.9.1 build, basically. It seems like in the past we left them in review, but closed until we build. Am I remembering correctly, or
That's not. I don't
that?
remember that exactly, and that kind of is kind of confusing to me too. If it's in review, then that implies to me that it still needs more work of an open PR or some feedback or something like that, right?
Right. So it is merged. I was trying to remember how we track those things. It's already been too long since a dot release, apparently.
Well, let's talk about what exactly would we be tracking. I mean, what do we need to know specifically? Because if we just run a release, it picks it all up, right? If we have can we have some release notes going? Would that help?
Yeah, pending release notes would probably do it, because it's like the documentation things, they just get automatically fixed because the documentation is regenerated.
Mm-hmm.
But the code changes are not, until we release. So we should move it to the done column, but the pending release notes, maybe we should update.
Yeah, I guess a couple things. So I have a habit of, and then I think the GitHub automation supports it as well, that when something goes to the done column, that it's on the top here. So the most recent things that we've completed will all be at least grouped here together. So that's one helpful thing. Now the release notes, that might, because that's part of the source tree, that would be kind of clumsy probably to be having to update that in the 0.9 source release branch in the source code.
Yeah, actually that's true, and the way we backport things, it would be hard to.
Yeah, exactly, because we just want to do a clean cherry pick commit that links to is somebody crinkling some bags of chips or something? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Yeah, maybe Blaine. All right.
Sorry.
Sounds better.
Breakfast bars?
I'm packing up here to leave Seattle today, and my mic was not muted.
Oh, you're still in Seattle, Blaine?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hanging out in the Sue's office here.
Cool. Don't stay too long. You might get trapped in Seattle.
Yeah, well, I'm getting out now before I get stuck.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So maybe we need to talk about that a little bit more, but my gut feel here is that, we don't want to do release notes in the source tree. That's going to be clumsy for the way that we run releases and things like that. But my gut feel is that the quantity of issues that we run patch releases for is never more than a handful, really. It doesn't get too out of control. So, tracking issues, accurately, such that when they're merged into the release branch, that they're in the done column. I prefer that. But then if there are only a handful of them, then just being able to manually just look at the 3 or so 4 that we have at the top of the stack here, and knowing that that's what's part of the release, and looking at the last few commits from the release branch, like I don't think we have so many commits now that it's unwieldy yet.
Okay.
Jared, we have the backport label. At least for patch releases, that would be one way to do it.
What would the query for that look like, though? Because if you look for backport labels, then that covers the old
I think
ones.
you can also search which target branch it is.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, you can say, hey, all issues with label, not issues, all pull requests with issue, not with issue.
Label.
With the label backport, and the which have the target branch release -0.9 or something like that.
Oh, so it would be on the pull request that you're querying, not the issues.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that could help too, Alexander. I could see that.
Actually, when we create the release notes, though, we just look at the commit history in the release branch. I think
that's normally what I do.
That works fine. Yeah. So I think we're good.
Okay. So what about these 2 tickets in the to-do column? I've seen a lot of activity on the Ceph Manager, 2 modules failed, and that one's getting a little bit more visible because that continues to be in all of our demos that we gave at KubeCon. But I don't know if there's a conclusion to that yet.
Yeah, there's not a conclusion yet, so we really need to get that resolved. It doesn't seem to block the dashboard or Prometheus modules. They're still running, and I can still connect to the dashboard.
So it doesn't break functionality? It's
not that I've seen. I'd like to hear if other people have experienced differently. But like I gave a full demo with the dashboard, even with those errors, and the dashboard should fine. All right, and that's why originally I thought, let's push to release even with that issue, because it doesn't seem to block.
I see.
Things, but it does show health error, which is concerning.
It definitely is a concern because that then drives support traffic or gives the impression that something is wrong because you just do a Ceph status and it's right at the top, 2 errors, right?
Right.
Yeah. In addition to that, this is also used for basic monitoring of the cluster. Most of the time, real.
Does that monitoring get broken, Alexander?
No. I just mean the metric return for the health status of the cluster is also health error.
Oh yeah, it's not health okay, right?
It's like one of the default rules, at least I personally use, which is is it warning? Is it health error? Is it not health okay? And on that, it's like, okay. Oh shit, something's broken.
So that'll be flagging alarms and stuff for monitoring systems. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I really I would love to fix this. Absolutely. What about 2340? I don't know if I'm familiar with this one.
Yeah, so this is just a doc issue. Basically, the Helm charts. We've got the stable channel now for the Ceph chart, and it's just not clearly documented to use the stable channel for the Helm chart. There's a comment in that issue already for what needs to be updated in the docs. So it's just a small thing to fix.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, just adding that. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty small. Okay. That one doesn't seem too difficult.
Yeah, so the 2335 in progress. Yeah, that's...
Do we have an owner for 2335?
It's not assigned to anyone. I mean, I've been looking at it off and on, scratching my head a lot about it. It's had numerous people commenting on it. I've pinged the Ceph community and IRC.
Send a carrier pigeon too.
Right. So I mean, we could assign it to me, but if anybody else is more familiar with the manager modules, it would help the investigation too.
I don't have imminent solution for that one, to be honest.
That's not Sebastian Wagner?
Yeah, that's Sebastian Wagner.
Hello.
And I think if you scroll down, then Ernesto commented on that one.
You mean with the workaround by setting the bind address to an actual IP and not just 0.0.00? Are you talking about that one?
Yeah, and there was a commit a while back in Ceph that was related, but
Yeah, but I really don't think this is related, actually. It seems to be old enough to be already long ago been merged into Nautilus. And yeah, as Travis, you already have been able to reproduce it with Nautilus, and it's not
Yeah.
related to that one.
yeah, and that merge was probably even in Mimic. It was long enough ago.
Yeah.
So I think the overall, I would like to include this issue in the 0.9.1 release that we would run. I wouldn't hold a patch release for weeks on it, but I would hold the train for at least for like a couple more days to try to get this fixed.
Right. There's one more issue I don't see here, which Alex, you have the
Yep.
PR ready for backport around the erasure coding settings being broken. That was my fault.
Yep. This should be
This one here,
the-
28398,
Yes.
and that is 2370 is the issue.
Yes.
East. Oh, it's in the done column already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it should.
Well, if you're happy with my response on the PR, Travis, we can leave it as done.
Yeah, I just marked it as approved, so we can merge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do it in a second.
Here we go. Ha! I'm a stickler. Okay, and then this one here, if we need an owner for that one, that looks pretty easy. I can take that one if we just need a name on that.
Sure. Great.
Okay. All right, so that's 0.9. Let's 1.0 is, let's see if there's anything else we need to talk about here. No, I don't think so. Yeah, okay, so 1.0, we have not that many issues in here, honestly. Do we need to take a pass through like the roadmap and kind of synchronize what's included in the roadmap and what issues are in the milestone, or has that already been done and it's a smaller set than I expected?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to make a pass. Probably
Okay.
most of what's in here already is just from when I was moving stuff out of 0.9 a couple weeks ago.
Right. So we need
Most
to
of them I
address
moved
this
in.
then.
But we need to make a pass at the
Okay.
issue.
Yeah, so we just got the 0.9 release out right before KubeCon, and we did KubeCon, and we're alive still, so that's all good. And we have plenty of time for the 1.0 milestone. We have a general vision that we want to accomplish with the roadmap defined already. So we'll follow up on this, but we're not in an absolute dire, this has to be done today. I don't think. We can maybe follow up after the holidays even.
Yeah.
Let's first get to the new year.
It sounds like a 2019 problem. Blaine, were you saying something?
Yeah, I think there are like, I don't know, 4 or 5 like issues that I opened up while we were closing down 0.9, and I don't, I'm not sure those are in the 1.0 like list of things yet.
And Blaine, if you want, if you feel like those issues deserve to be in 1.0, please feel free to go ahead and add them to the
Okay.
1.0 milestone, and then we'll take a pass through and kind of normalize on that later on. But as a a member of the Rook organization and on the contributor team there, you've got permissions to go ahead and add them to the milestone. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Plus,
That
I've seen
sounds
your
great.
face now, so I trust you a little bit more than just being behind a computer
I have a
somewhere.
Trustworthy face. I'm not
Yes,
a
you
robot.
do. I've seen you. All right. And the 1.0 project board, that has almost none of the issues from 1.0 on it. We've been tracking some of the ones that I've seen get merged in and taking care of those, but other than that, that's got nothing. So we'll worry about that too at the same time. Okay, so back to the agenda, and let's talk KubeCon. So
Wait, before we go on real quick, Jared,
aw.
I put a note in there for timeline with a question mark on 1.0. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of have a rough idea of timeline and put this out there. So because we were sort of, let's try and ship quarterly, plus or minus. But then KubeCon has been the driving factor for the last couple releases, really. If we shoot for KubeCon Barcelona's in May, that's kind of longer than I'd like to see a release. So just putting it out there that if we shoot for March, I don't have any sort of hard deadline, but on the Ceph side, there's Nautilus support that would be needed around February, so March would kind of go along with that. But I know there's lots of factors here, so that's not the only thing to consider. But
Bassam and I had been talking as well while we were in Seattle, and we were having a general agreement also about quarterly releases. I think during 2018 we kind of slipped from that a little bit, so I would like to kind of pick up the cadence a little bit more, and that kind of becomes a little bit more important potentially too when we have as we have increased the support for number of storage systems as well, to have more frequent releases or to stick to a better schedule. So I'm perfectly on board with trying to shoot for a March timeframe as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Time-based releases tend to, just be helpful to the community, and like you said, especially with more storage providers.
Okay. So now can we talk KubeCon Seattle?
Okay.
Yeah, KubeCon Seattle was awesome. That was a great experience. It was so good to meet some more people from the community. The Rook booth that we had was super active. A lot of good engagements there. We gave like 3 or so different talks on Rook as well. So that was a great experience. Does anybody have something about KubeCon that they want to share with the group?
I have one thing from my side directly at the beginning. Just a shout out to Travis for getting me there by Hangouts. As the telepresence robots were, I quote, they have gotten wet for whatever reason. Thanks to Travis.
With the little telepresence robot that they had that you could ride around like virtually in, that got wet, so the robot was broken?
Yes. I got like the email at the evening from me, and I was like, so you gotta be kidding me, this must be a joke. And I logged in and all.
That robot was not designed for Seattle. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So it wasn't figurative. I figured, do they really get wet? I don't know.
That robot had a wet brain. So Travis got like connected on a laptop to you with Hangouts, and then took you around the booth and stuff.
Just on my phone.
That's cool.
There's some links for you.
Anonymous.
Oh, I didn't show up. That was me. I guess I got to log in. Sorry.
Delete. Yeah, so those look to be the links for the 3 talks that we gave in Seattle. Mm-hmm. I think this community has probably mostly already seen the intro, or if you're involved in the community at the level to show up to community meetings, you've already familiar with the content from the intro. But Travis had some new content from the deep dive, which was pretty interesting. There's a good focus on upgrades in managing Ceph and the Ceph dashboard, and that was a good demo. And then adding a new provider, that's a brand new talk that we gave as well, with some new content there that is definitely very, very new. So if you missed those talks, catching up with them on YouTube would be a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And great job on your new code that you got working at midnight.
Before. Yes, a little bit after midnight, yeah. But the motivation can be very high sometimes when you have a deadline and you want to show something off that you told people you would show off. Very motivating factor. Travis, stop messing with that document.
Trying to fix my anonymous. All right, I'll stop.
I'm just going to approve.
Okay.
I appreciate your contributions. No, those aren't links yet. Okay, anyways, so let's go ahead and move on then to the PR section. Uh-oh. And I think the first one that we had was 2182. And Brian or Jeremy, are you guys on today?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How's it going?
Good to hear from you.
Yeah, so we updated a new design doc. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it yet. A new design MD.
Is that and so this pull request here 2182 is current?
Yeah, it's current, but we updated it. Well, we made it like a month ago, but we updated it like a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. No, I have not taken a look at the updates. So so
Well,
this pull request we should take a look at then.
if you view the file, you can see like a graphic. I can quickly like go through the architecture with you. There's like a simple. But there's like some main questions that I wanted to ask you guys before we like get into the actual effort of it. So it seems like you guys are more interested in the disk failure prediction of our solution. Is that correct?
I think that aspect of it has a lot of value, especially for storage systems. Yeah, I think that would be more of a priority for me.
So how would Rook handle like a disk failure prediction? Like if they see a disk is about to die, would Rook do anything, or would it just do the native storage behavior that it deployed?
I think the operator for a storage provider would have to watch for those events and then take action that provider decides. Like in the case of Ceph, maybe it means marking OSDs as down or out, and then the rebalancing would happen.
So then would like the Rook community take responsibility of that part of running the Ceph, like marking the OSD out, for example, for their deployment, or would they just rely on like community effort to do that? I'm not sure like how that would work.
Yeah, I think the Ceph community side of it would make sense for that to happen, and not be on your shoulders, for example, to go do that.
Okay. Yeah, because we already have a plugin in Ceph, so that's what Jeremy is saying in the chat right now. We have a plugin that the Ceph community already took care of, but then like we want to make it more like geared for Rook. And you guys have all these other storage solutions, but then we're not sure like, so if we give you guys a disk prediction, but then there still wouldn't be like much on the back end of it, right? Because we would still need people to actually execute these predictions. So we're not sure how the roadmap for it is for that, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think the area owners for storage providers, I haven't dug deep into what it would take to do it, but it seems like it'd be very backend or storage provider specific.
Is there any data on like when drives like give out a failure prediction, like following that prediction, like what the mean time to failure is?
What the mean? Well, we give like a 2-week prediction or 6-week prediction. So after we give the warning, it's gonna die within 6 weeks, and we have a 97% accuracy rate for that.
Okay, so like it is like very accurate. I mean, I know, like when I worked for Hewlett Packard, there was a lot of discussion internally about like whether to consider drives that were predicting failure but hadn't yet failed, like under support costs, or like being supportable by the company. I imagine other hardware vendors would probably take a similar approach. So it could be still useful to use that information for ordering replacement parts, but I mean,
yeah, that was our first approach, to go to like disk vendors and tell them, hey, we have this tool that can predict disk failure, but then that didn't really align with their business plan, because like they're like, oh, that would just increase RMAs for us, and then we wouldn't, we would lose money because no one else is using it.
Right.
But, so we changed our attack to like more like storage solution that are fault tolerant and like have self-healing properties, like Ceph, for instance, so that they can evacuate data preemptively and then not have slow drives affect their cluster.
Right.
That's more the plan for disk prediction, rather than doing like RMAs and getting return value on the disk.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I don't think this is something we could do, but that's would be some good indication, like maybe buy another batch of drives so that you can quickly replace this one, when it does fail, and maybe you can't make a RMA request or whatever.
I see.
Yeah. The current is saved get a warning. After get a warning, they would send they would take two types of actions. First one, if it is it's the immediate failure, and they will send the cluster to the rebalancing. But if we know it's the early warning, and that the disk will fail, maybe the 6 weeks later, or even longer, and we can start it, evacuate the data. So there's two actions self-intact. Besides this protections, and some of the customers, we also provide a correlation. We can provide the correlation between the SEPT pool and failing OSD. So also provide the impact analysis. If any disk slowdown or the fail, and how much of a percentage the performance was lost, and we can provide this kind of correlation, and also can generate further prediction and recommendation. So I think that we need a two-way interface, and we provide the prediction and recommendations. Also, we need to get some application metadata, including what kind of storage or the database running with Rook. Is it the Ceph, Cassandra, or something else? And then we can build the correlation and the feedback of the impact analysis and the further recommendation to the Rook users. This is what we can do.
Yeah, I think there's opportunity here to for integration at the level of the Rook.io common types in Logic, where there is a spec there for a storage scope, I think is what it's called, and that's kind of the way that you specify what underlying volumes and directories and devices, et cetera, make up the storage fabric of the cluster you want to deploy or manage. And I'm wondering there if that can, kind of integrate in with these, failure predictions and warnings from Alameda to, provide, to filter or surface only devices that are healthy, or to be able to help storage provider specific operators make scheduling decisions, or start rebalancing data off of those devices that are, doomed to fail soon. So I think there could be maybe some common Rook storage type integration here too.
Yeah, that sounds good. As long as we keep in mind what the actual use case for integration with Rook, because I was just thinking how would we work together? If someone deploys something with Rook, why would they want to deploy Alameda, So we would have to maybe think more about that on our own, probably. But,
yeah, I definitely think that I totally agree with you there that, the what you can do with it, or what the functionality that you gain from it needs to be, have value, right? Or else it's just an integration that doesn't really accomplish anything. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the second thing would be, how would we deploy Alameda with Rook, or how would they enable Alameda from Rook? Would it just be two separate operators that they install individually, or would it be like a package or something, a bundled type of deal?
Yeah, that probably requires some more thought as well, because I'm not yet familiar with what the deployment of Alameda is specifically. If it does have its own operator, or if it's just a container or pod that you deploy, or how exactly it works. So I think that would require a little bit more understanding.
Okay, maybe we can have a meeting offline, not in the community meeting about it.
And are there more details about how it gets deployed in this pull request here?
Yeah, our whole architecture is in this pull request, and then how we would write the disk failure prediction into your config map and everything.
Cool. So I will follow up then on reviewing this updated pull request from the last few days and give feedback and have a little bit of discussion there. And if we need to meet to drive towards resolution, then we can follow up on that too.
Yeah, sounds good. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your effort, guys.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
great.
also have a GUI version of what we do with the prediction if you want to see that. I'm not sure if you guys have time or if you want to. It'll take like a minute.
Oh, right in front of you?
It's like a web page that has our like GUI version of our solution.
Do you want to share your screen real quick, or do
Yeah.
you have like a link for me to click on, or?
I can share it.
Okay.
It requires some interaction, so.
Yeah, let me find the button to stop my sharing.
Okay.
There it is. Okay, you should be able to take sharing now.
All right. Let me find my. Can you guys see it?
Yes, I see it.
Okay. So we have a basic dashboard, but so this is what we do for Kubernetes. Like I showed you guys last time, the CPU and memory prediction. We can like predict the future CPU usage, and then we just execute the planning, and then it would find a time that's like the most optimal to change the request and limit, and it would just change it at that time. That's what we do for the future resource usage. And we also have an allocation where we can predict like all the pods on the node, their usage, and then we can balance it across the nodes so that the loads of each node is more like unified. It's more around the same area, so you don't have like anomalous nodes using different patterns. And also, lastly, we have persistent volumes, which is what you guys are probably interested in. This is we just show like all the disks correlated with the persistent volume. If one's about to die, it'll show like which OSD fails and which pod it'll affect. Yeah, that's our basic concept for our predictions right now.
Nice. See, that's kind of interesting too there, honestly, because the very like beginning of an integration here could almost just be sort of like what the experience we have with Prometheus somewhat, where in our documentation we have like a monitoring section, and then that kind of walks you through how to quickly just bring up Prometheus with the Prometheus operator and start scraping some interesting data. And being able to have documentation or steps to how would you deploy this Alameda solution here with its GUI and such too, so you can start looking at interesting things in the cluster and getting data is also by itself interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
To go on the point what Jerry is saying, kind of, I think it would be good to in generally have a way for Rook to like have an interface, an object or whatever, which is standing for the disk, and which any other tool, for example, in your case, Alameda tools, can then update so that it's in the end, don't get me wrong, but that it's simply window neutral in the end. That if some, legacy sysadmin is running their cluster with Nagios or something, that he could also just go ahead and point his scripts to update a config map or something. To update the status of a disk in the cluster.
Well, because right now our plan was to just update the config map ourselves. So are you saying
Yeah, this is a problem. And that if you reinstall it directly in Ceph, we can get the correlation. But if you install it in the Kubernetes, actually we will lose the correlation with Ceph. So we need to get some metadata from the root directory to review the correlation, and then we can do what you ask.
I also agree with Alexander's sentiment there. I think by having Alameda write directly into Rook's config map, that puts a lot of pressure on Rook to not change the way the config map is schemaed. And that would mean we need to version the config map, and that's one more thing that could potentially break integrations. And I think thinking more about some sort of interface which is independent of Rook and possibly independent of both Alameda and Rook would be like worth further like discussion and study.
Well, we do have our own data hub over here that we would store all our predictions in, that we can just open up to you guys and then not have to write into your config map, if that would be better, if you can see it. We have this data hub that like collects all the metrics from Prometheus, and then we have our own InfluxDB, which is a time series database, and then we would have our predictions in there, and then it would just have like an API call or something that you guys can get predictions from.
Is that similar to how predictions and data was being surfaced in CRDs as well, or is that a totally separate thing?
Yeah, we wanted to do CRD. Like I showed you guys CRDs last time, but there's a lot of limitations with CRDs. Like it puts a load on the etcd of the cluster, and also it can only be a certain size. So we're just, in our next version, we're not going to use CRDs at all. Yeah, or we're not going to do CRDs for predictions. We're going to use CRDs for watching the pods that we want to be watched. That's it. Yeah.
Right, a CRD to like for somebody to configure what is interesting to look at, not necessarily the raw data.
Just I thought, would it be also would it be hard to kind of use CRDs just for the result of a disk failure prediction?
Well, the thing, we don't want to do too many make too many objects on that cluster. That's the issue, because there's first of all.
I understand. I'm just saying, like the if you were to just use them for the actual end result, which is that there is a persistent volume or a disk that has failed or is about to fail, that doesn't seem like a large number. Right?
Yeah.
And that creates a very clean interface with schedulers and operators and others that want to react or use that data to do something else.
Yeah, we can just isolate our disk failure prediction and leave all the CPU and memory metrics out of it. I think that would be lighter weight. Yeah, I'll have to ask our dev team if that would work for them, but I think that sounds good. Yeah.
Yes, also plan. I think that we can work on it to see if we can limit the number of the CRD and make it happen.
Yeah. Well, because is there an issue with you guys calling the data hub? Is that because I think
it creates a coupling between the two projects, which I think you're hearing some concern around that.
Okay, so well, that was one of my questions. I don't know if we want to couple the projects or we want to just leave it separate individual projects and just have them work together, I guess.
Well, defining a CRD as essentially a way to decouple them makes a ton of sense. So if you said that there was a disk failure prediction that was itself a custom resource, and then Rook and others could react when they see one, they could watch for them and decide whether they need to do anything. That doesn't couple the projects and still achieves the same results, I think.
All right. Yeah, we'll discuss it internally. Yeah, and I guess we'll reconnect. I guess you guys will take some time to look at our design right now, and then we'll reconnect, I guess, through Slack or something.
On the volume failure prediction, I just wanted to add here that there is a volume monitor in the works for some time now in the external storage repo of Kubernetes. And maybe you want to take a look. Where can I send you a link to so you can see?
I'm in the Rook Slack if you want to ping me directly there. I can. Are you in the Rook Slack?
Yep. So I can. I can upload it on Dev. So anyone else who's interested.
Yeah, you can also add it to the agenda document here, so we have it as a record from our discussion today, like as a
that sounds
bullet
good.
underneath Brian's topic. So everyone.
That sounds good.
And then there's go ahead, Giannis.
So what I want to say is that there is this talk in external storage that Kubernetes volume should have some sort of monitor that gets data that tells it if a disk is misbehaving or it's not performing as it should or it's about to fail. And they're discussing about ways to communicate that. So the current approach, from what I have seen in the PRs, is to write some annotations on the persistent volume object. But the design doc also talked about the possibility to add taints to persistent volumes, the same way they have taints on nodes.
Okay.
I'll send you the links and you can take a look for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. That helps a lot. Yeah, thanks a lot.
The concept of a taint on a volume makes a ton of sense. So that seems very relevant to what we're talking here.
Yeah, like an annotation on the volume object. Is that?
Well, a taint would essentially, tell the schedule to try to avoid this volume.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right.
I think there you can't add taints at the moment, but they were talking about maybe putting in the future. You can,
right.
I mean, there isn't. I think there isn't a taint field for the persistent volume object. There's only for the node object, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look. I'll just wait for your link. I'll take a deeper look.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that also has to do with how Kubernetes would handle the taints there, right? So like, I don't know if there would be the possibility that once that disk was tainted, like Rook would no longer actually have access to it, which in the case of a failure prediction, I don't think actually would be good. Like we still want to migrate data off of that disk potentially. So like an annotation to me, like having some sort of standard annotation for like a disk failure prediction event on disks.
Yeah, well, in any case, now you probably can't add taints, and even if you could, you can tolerate taints with tolerations. So there's always ways to work around that.
Yeah, that was one of our questions. We don't know if Rook wants to like take ownership of all the handling of the failure predictions or not. We weren't sure like the plan for Alameda with Rook. So yeah, I guess we still need to.
Cassandra operator, I'm also looking into incorporating persistent volumes, and the system that predicts failures sounds like something useful. I was looking into a monitoring solution for volumes, so it definitely sounds interesting.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just keep thinking about it, keep working on it, and yeah, we'll update you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Ceph or Nautilus already have some action to do after they get the warnings and the disk failure. So we can just hand it over to Ceph to handle it. So probably is a plan. We can check with the Ceph community and see if there was any kind of feedback on it. And we just focus on the interface between the Alameda and the Rook, and make things simple, and how to generate the CRD for predictions that they used by the Rook. I would suggest that.
Yeah, I think for now we'll just create a CRD for persistent for failure prediction, disk failure prediction, and then we'll leave.
We just take that to action. First one, we generate the CRD from the database. The second need to have to work on the interface to get metadata from Rook.
Yeah, once we need to discuss more like what metadata we need, but we'll need some way to get like orchestration level data from Rook, if that's okay with the Rook guys. Just to get like correlation predictions and everything.
Yeah, so it sounds like we'll follow up with the design discussion.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Travis. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at the PR this week and have that design discussion.
Okay.
Discussion there.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, Jared had to drop off, so he gave me the meeting control here.
Okay, yeah. I think we took all. I got enough of it.
Too much time. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No, that's a great discussion. So
Yeah,
we'll definitely follow up there and look forward to more of that and working through that design.
Sure,
Okay.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can share my screen here, and we'll go back to the agenda then. You can see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, do you see my browser or my email? Let's see.
See the document, the agenda doc?
Okay, you do
Yeah,
see
it
the
looks
doc.
like the
Okay,
browser.
great. Sounds good. Well, the next 2 PRs in the list here were a couple of my own. I was hoping to get Jared's input, so I guess I'll follow up with him there. But let's see. The first
I
one.
already responded to that, right?
Did he respond to both of them?
I'm asking you if I already responded.
I don't think we've had the response yet, or not concluding. Let's see. And did it? Okay, so here's the first PR. So it's just about the. Now, Alex, you reviewed this one as far as removing 1.8 and 1.9 from the integration tests and adding 1.13. And at the same time, I had another commit to clean up the pending release notes since we've forked for 1.9. So I think this is ready to go. So if there's any other comments, or Alex, if you want to approve, that'd be great. And then the other one.
Did you already update it?
Yeah, I updated. I think it was just the one Kubernetes comment you had with the.
Oh yeah, I just saw it was updated. Yeah. Okay, good. We'll take a look.
Okay. And then the second one, there's been a little discussion around sort of the ordering of the publishing step with KubeCon. Anyway, we're a little busy to look through that, but this is about, do we want to publish before we run the integration tests, which means that when we're running in master or in a release branch, we get the new docs generated and we push to Docker Hub before running the integration tests. So why I like this is that it means whatever we've merged will be reflected in what's published. So the discussion is around should we publish before we run the integration tests? And the integration tests have already passed before we've merged, which is why I don't think this will be a problem. But if there's, I guess, concern about this, or is there concern about this to discuss here? Bassam, are you still there? Or let's see. Since I took control, I have a hard time seeing who's on the call. Oh, it looks like maybe Bassam had to drop off too. So, all right. I'll resolve it with them offline.
One comment to the removal of 1.8, 1.9.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be good then in a separate PR though to move to the apps version 1 API for deployment, stateful sets, and everything. That we finally get rid of the extensions V1 beta, version 1 beta 1, I think it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be great.
I can take a stab at it.
Yeah.
Could you create an issue for that after it was merged? And I'll take a look at the next.
Yeah, because that can be separate from this PR. But, yeah, great. To
definitely separate.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
I do have one, like, I guess, concern, and that mostly is sort of around, like, what are Git corner cases? Like, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I think when it does the PRs, it will just do, like, what is in that branch. But when a merge happens, even if that merge can be automatic, like, I would think there's still a small possibility that, some event that is non-ideal might happen, like, and not flag as a merge commit. So maybe, like, having it run through tests before building, I think, could still be a...
Yeah, where the integration test could still find something. And so I guess what I feel like we would still be covered, or we'll still see a failure from the test, and it gives us a nice Slack notification in that case. So we should look at that, and we can't ignore those issues. But like if we get, I mean, fundamentally the problem is our random integration test failures, and then it increases significantly the time between the publishing or merge and publishing, which has caused some issues with users running inconsistent builds.
Did we had this problem in the last few times, at least for my last PRs? I don't know. I had some issues before I merged my RD1 fixed PR. So I'm not sure what PR it was, but at least till now, I only had green builds on my PRs.
Yeah,
well, not only, but in the end, at least.
Yeah, the builds are looking much greener these days, actually. So we're doing much better that way. There is still the occasional failure. So anyway, yeah, if we could follow up with, Blaine, if you want to comment on that PR too, that'd be great with your concerns, and we can take it offline. But okay, is there anything else that needs to be brought up at the community meeting today? That ends the agenda.
I didn't add it to the agenda. Sorry about that. I was super busy this week. But I'm not sure if you have seen it. I've added a pull request to add validating webhooks to Rook. And I have also added the implementation for Cassandra. And it should be easy enough for other storage providers to do so as well. And I think it will be a major improvement in UX. So if if anyone has some time, I said, please do take a look and tell me what you think.
Okay.
I will add the link right now to the meeting document.
Sounds good. Was that last week during KubeCon? I lost track of lots of things.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, me too.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. We'll take a look at that. And so you said that's a validation of the CRDs, or which? Oh, the validating webhook.
So that's a validating webhook for CRDs. For example, if a user tries to downgrade a Rook cluster, and that's not supported, you will have the chance to tell them before the change even goes through to the etcd.
Right. Yeah, because as soon as those changes are committed to the CRD, we can't really back them out. So this will be able to let us improve a lot of those cases. Great.
Okay, so I added it to the community document.
Perfect. Okay. Any other PRs or other issues to bring, or blocking issues for 1.9 that people think we should add to the release, the .1 release soon? Okay. With that, I think we'll go ahead and say thanks, everyone, and we'll conclude the community meeting for today.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a good day. Bye.
Yep.